are prepared for wizardly combat.
I want to show you a trick Mother showed me when you weren't around.
And all that life, step out the
Welcome to Spellburn, a podcast covering the Dungeon Crawl Classics role-playing game and old-school adventuring. It's time to party like it's 1974.
Are prepared for wizardly combat.
I want to show you a trick Mother showed me when you weren't around.
And all that life, step out the
Welcome to Spellburn, a podcast covering the Dungeon Crawl Classics role-playing game and old-school adventuring. It's time to party like it's 1974.
Are prepared for wizardly combat.
I want to show you a trick Mother showed me when you weren't around.
And all that life, step out the
Welcome to Spellburn, a podcast covering the Dungeon Crawl Classics role-playing game and old-school adventuring. It's time to party like it's 1974.
Are prepared for wizardly combat.
I want to show you a trick Mother showed me when you weren't around.
And all that life, step out the
Welcome to Spellburn, a podcast covering the Dungeon Crawl Classics role-playing game and old-school adventuring. It's time to party like it's 1974.
Are prepared for wizardly combat.
I want to show you a trick Mother showed me when you weren't around.
And all that life, step out the
Welcome to Spellburn, a podcast podcast covering the Dungeon Crawl Classics role-playing game and old-school adventuring. It's time to party like it's 1974.
So prepare for wizardly combat.
I want to show you a trick Mother showed me when you weren't around.
And all that life, step up, don't feel it.
Welcome to Spellburn, a podcast covering the Dungeon Crawl Classics role-playing game and old-school adventuring. It's time to party like it's 1974.
So prepare for wizardly combat.
I want to show you a trick Mother showed me when you weren't around.
And all that life, step up, don't feel it.
Welcome to Spellburn, a podcast covering the Dungeon Crawl Classics role-playing game and old-school adventuring. It's time to party like it's 1974.
So prepare for wizardly combat.
I want to show you a trick Mother showed me when you weren't around.
And all that life, step up, don't feel it.
Welcome to Spellburn, a podcast covering the Dungeon Crawl Classics role-playing game and old-school adventuring. It's time to party like it's 1974.
So prepare for wizardly combat.
I want to show you a trick Mother showed me when you weren't around.
And all that life, step up, don't feel it.
Welcome to Spellburn, a podcast covering the Dungeon Crawl Classics role-playing game and old-school adventuring. It's time to party like it's 1974.
Carry the sword that the legend was on. Roots of the
yourself prepared for wizardly combat.
I want to show you a trick Mother showed me when you weren't around.
Happy holidays. It's our last Spellburn of the year. Judge James is out there riding his reindeer. So we have a special guest host with us tonight, Judge Joey Royale from Joey Royale's Pizza Party. And our special guest tonight, the atomic overlord himself, Christopher Rick of Double Zigurat fame. We'll talk about atomic clock devices, mega maidens, rad bombs, and we'll ascend the Zigurat. All this and more on the last Spellburn of the year. I'm Judge Julian, and with me tonight I have Judge Jen.
Good evening, everyone.
And graciously agreeing to step in, Judge Joey.
Ciao, paisans! Happy New Year!
And Judge Christopher.
Hello there. Welcome. I'm happy to be here, finally.
We're happy to have you. And I'm thirsty, so let's go on into the tavern. All right. Hey, Judge Jen, pour a beer, pull up a chair, tell us what you've had going on in the holiday season here.
Oh, holiday season, so much food. I'm actually on some well-coveted PTO right now, so don't ask me about work crap. It's still my passion. I still love it, but by God, I need a day. I am actually sitting down to edit a project for Sanctum Media, the Infernal Apocrypha, also tied into the Patreon for this guy named Bob. And we've already started collecting some major hauls of Appendix N and related books for some of the upcoming conventions for this year. So it'll be fun to get the book racks out for those again. Not a whole lot of actual gaming, just because, monitors, brain, no, not this week.
Fair enough, fair enough. How about you, Judge Joey?
I am on holiday break. I'm in that wonderful cloud where I had to ask twice today what day it was. So although that'll come to an end soon, it's been a very productive break, other than just, a beautiful time with my family and Santa stopping by the house. I filled myself with Shwuyadel, and I did get some gaming in. Right before holiday break, a fourth grade crew I run with just finished Sailors in the Starless Sea, and a fifth grade crew that just began their first role-playing experience of all time. I started them off on Doom of the Savage King. So that's something to look forward to when I get back to school. So two very different experiences, but I'm having a blast. And then I got my copy of Against the Cult of the Hippie Commune by Loot the Body, and that has been burning a hole in my table. I got to get a session together for that. So that's my gaming for the immediate future that I'm looking for. Did a little writing too. I have a coming in the mail for Mixum probably next week or the week after. I have a new WHPA supplement to hold everybody over until I get the stuff back from the backer kit, and that's called Fairhaven Beings. And it's going to be in the Etsy soon, and it's all weird creatures statted up for your Weird Heroes of Public Access game. And I got to submit some stuff to Goodman Games, so we'll see what comes from that. Very excited. A busy time.
Very nice. What do you have like a Bigfoot Sasquatch type thing in your Fairhaven Beings?
I would. So there has been some sort of a monkey man, in the past. This one is, these creatures are a little bit more ethereal. I went more deeper down the extra planar beings this time than the crypto beings that have been in some of the previous ones.
I like Bigfoot in my Fairhaven. He's been a good kind of villain, although I go for kind of a smoking jacket, cigarette holder.
As
Bigfoot.
you would, of course. You're a man of taste.
Yeah, and then Taylor Swift, Christopher Walken, other villain type, But it's all good. It's all good.
There is a Christopher Walken. So there is. I'll give you a little spoiler, Julia, since you brought it up. There is a creature that looks like a lychee fruit, but when it bursts open, I didn't Photoshop it, I gimped it. It's Christopher Walken's face with a leech mouth attached to a lychee fruit. So, it's there's that connection.
Joey, what have you done to my face? Yeah, that's awesome. I love it. Okay. You know what, Jen, I'm going to do, with your permission, Judge Jen, because you're the senior host, one of these days I'm going to do an all Christopher Walken imitation Spellburn episode.
I smell an any.
It's going to be
and you
great.
need my permission. Why?
Well,
I can just be sick that night.
yeah, right. There will be a lot of sickness that night, I think. So speaking of Christophers, Judge Christopher, you're with us for your first Spellburn appearance. We'll get into all that stuff later, but tell us what your gaming and your tavern life is like at the moment.
Well, I was drinking beer from a local brewery, but they seem to be closing after 11 years. So I have to run out this weekend and stock up on the house beer because it's the only beer I like to drink at home. But gaming-wise, I have been running a game by Discord on my Discord server for some friends, loosely called Zigurat of the Mad Prophets, because I'm all about the Zigurats.
Yeah.
For now. And it's actually a different adventure that I had statted out and like 30 pages written for 5e, and I'm just winging it in DCC basically. It's gone terrible for them. It basically TPK'd them in the first encounter, TPK'd them again in the third encounter, and then I had to have Deus Ex Goblina with some goblins that they had helped save come back and save them, just to get them off of their 1 hit point placement after all the dropping and rolling the bodies.
Now, is this a funnel where you're double TPKing them, or is this
No.
first
They're
level?
all level. I can look in Discord.
Brutal.
They're either level 1 or level 2, something like that. It's just, life doesn't have a challenge rating. Life isn't fair. You just have to know when to run away sometimes. They did not run away in that first encounter when they should have, and so they all got dropped.
That's incredible.
Is it a play-by-post sort of thing?
Yeah, I was doing when we started. I was doing a 12-hour timer by using a bot that would count down. Because one of our players is down in, I think it's Brazil. His time is a little offset from ours by a couple hours because we're central, and so I just let it roll to whenever they get around. And most of them are pretty good about getting around to their turn within a couple hours. So right now we're in initiative, and so I just pop up a post that says initiative, and then I tag whoever's turn it is so that they get it. It's actually Michael, my former business partner from Two Old Guys Games. It's Bert Isla, which everybody knows.
Oh,
Bert.
yeah.
And then one other player that I got that's a Twitch follower. And so, and then Joe, I can't remember his last name. Down in Texas, Joe is a DCC player. And he's on my Patreon and a couple other things. He came in and saved them basically because he came in a little late. So, but yeah, I do about 12-hour rounds. Or if there's a conversation going on, I'll let it go on until they need me to answer a question or they come to some conclusion. It's very loosey goosey. We're just fooling around, having a good game.
The play-by-post games have been around forever with all the forums and bulletin board systems, decades past. I've just never joined one, so I was curious about mechanics, I guess. Yeah.
I learned so much on the old Goodman Games forum through play-by-posts when I was first starting out. That was such a cool experience to see those characters develop and figure out how the rules worked with the different classes. That's neat.
Now, Christopher, you also have an event coming up here, if I heard it right. So we've got a big January con.
In January, I am at Midwinter Gaming Convention here in Wisconsin. That is not the one I help run. They're very closely named Midwinter Gaming Convention, Midwest Gaming Classic. We'll get into that later. I have a bunch of games I'm running there as well. The VIPs in their swag bag will get my zine, Wizard Sea Chronicles Volume 1.
Cool.
Very
So
cool.
okay. I am,
It's very
no,
confusing.
it is a little, are they both in like Milwaukee?
Yeah. So Midwinter, which is coming up in a couple weeks, is just outside of Milwaukee now. It was a good move for them, I thought. It's probably, the venue is probably less and lower room number, a whole bunch of con stuff. Anyway, so they moved out west, and then Midwest Gaming Classic, which is the one that I work for, it's my day job, is in April in downtown Milwaukee.
Okay. Okay, that's interesting. Well, January 1, I think, is like 9th to the 12th, and we've got a pretty big DCC showing there, and it sounds like you're running a bunch of games and stuff there.
Yeah, I'll be there for trade day, which is Thursday during the day, and then I've got a game each. I've got a game each day. As a matter of fact, I'm running the adventure in the zine in, I think, 4 different systems at that, just to show the system agnosticness of it.
What, okay, I'm sorry. I love that. What 4 systems are there?
So it'll be DCC, MCC, 5E, maybe it's just 3 now. I had to cut a couple of games out because some life stuff started clashing with it. Oh, and I have a Megaton Maiden. So it's 3 of the zine and 1 Megaton Maiden there now.
Got it. Okay. Well, you could probably just do Weird Heroes of Public Access. You can, it's so light, you can learn the rules in about 10 minutes, and then you can probably run just about anything with it. Just
Look
saying.
at that. Thanks,
Just
Julian.
saying.
The check's in the mail, pal.
There you go. I'll tell you what, I'm kind of a full-time freelancer, so checks are good. Let's just
Okay.
say. Yep, keep the checks coming. All right. Judge Christopher, thank you. And I know that MidwinterCon in Jan, correct me if I get it wrong, we got Nick Barron and I believe Jim Myers and that that Cheesehead gang, and also Northern Illinois gang, and a lot of folks are going to be there, right?
Yeah. And there will be a Goodman booth, yes.
And there will be a Goodman booth. I suppose that's, I don't know if Nick's running that or who's got it, but
yes, he is.
we're right in the thick of that. Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, excellent, Judge Christopher. Thank you. I have had a fun kind of December here, I guess you could call it. It's still not over, and I'm having fun tonight. So thanks, guys, for being here. I'm doing. I am going to wrap up some of the Ether Meat stuff that we did for the Crawl for the Cure in a second. But for that, I ran a weird little Umerica game, and we actually got Reed Sanfilippo to join us for that, as well as Jim Skatch and Jess McDevitt and Tim DeShane, Naughty Nate Marcel, the artist who's done so many great Umerica covers, including my own Burger Wars. That was really, I've never met him or talked to him or anything, so that was fun. And then we even had the Evil One join us. So that was a good time. A really, really crazy day. They raised about $3,500, and I looked, and since 2019, the Crawl for the Cure stuff between Gamehole and the online con that they do in December is raised over, I should say, $27,000.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, that's a nice thing. I like to see that. So so congrats, Corey. That's great, and thanks for putting that out there, because it's cool to go see how those numbers kind of go up year over year, and what the total is. That's neat. Also working on playtests and working on net crawl adventures for Judge James, who's been lost in the internet, but will probably pop out somewhere. And then on the 10th level Epic, we did another playtest, and it's bonkers. It's 10th level. Stuff happens.
Wow.
Spells you don't see at the table a lot get cast at very high levels. And yet there's always a misfire. And No, all these games have mini natural ones, I guess, because of all the action dice. There's always fumbles and there's always things that go epically wrong too. That's one thing I've learned about 10th level play. Things actually, they're godlike power, but they're still natural ones. That's pretty much it for me. We talked about Crawl for the Cure. Let's go over, let's give it just a quick pause and we're going to go over to our Crowdburn stuff. I've got a couple items and you guys can dive into if you've got anything to add to that mix right after this. All right, on our Crowdburn stuff, I was going to give Nick Barron a quick shout out because he's got his First Taste is Free Patreon promotion that he started on Christmas Eve for his free Patreon members. He's sending out product to them. Anybody who messaged him or emailed him or whatever with their address, he has shipped out 36 free zines and pamphlets to people just to give them stuff for Christmas, for the holidays, and show them what it's like to be a paid member of the Patreon. He said it's astounding that, a lot of people have joined as free members. Some of them didn't respond, but a lot of them have got stuff in the mail. So he's getting stuff out there. His Guardian handout, the Elementalist class guides. And he still has a few copies of Pervasive Corruption. So people do have till January 1st to send their address to him. So you can actually, if you're watching this, you can sign up as a free Patreon on the Breaker Press Patreon for Nick Barron. You can sign up now and send him your snail mail address, and he's going to give you some free stuff. So do it because they rock, and he's giving you free stuff, right? So good enough. And then
all the time, the first hit's free, but
he knows what he's doing.
Nobody else actually puts out the postage for that.
Nick Barron is the real deal, man. He's one of the best in the game right now, not only as a creative mind, but a kind soul too. And that man will work up a sweat at the booth. He is the hardest working person, man, breaking down those boxes, putting up the ziggurats, and selling like it's going out of style. I respect him.
Yeah, he's a revelation. He's been getting product out like crazy, and can't wait to see this box set thing that he's doing with Trevor Stamper for the Breaker Press. That's going to be pretty cool.
Very cool.
So, but I just thought it was cool that he was giving stuff away. Giving stuff away is good. I love to see it. I love to do it. I have too much crap. I should just give stuff away too. I'm going to do that. Anyway, so here's some other stuff I found just poking around. As of like 3 days ago, Luau Lu's Unnatural Selections Volume 3, his Kickstarter, you can still do late pledges. So it's funded, and then the Kickstarter was closed, but you can actually still jump in there as a late pledge and get all your cool stuff. It's a collection of monsters for MCC, DCC, or anything else you can apply that to. And I saw a few pages of that he'd put up in Facebook. It looked awesome.
Yeah.
So by all means, grab that if you didn't already. And there's also, I don't know too much about it, but something called The Sorcerer's Return. Mystery and intrigue await in this grim, dark DCC zine for first level characters. And you can late pledge that. So you're sitting around, you're eating a turkey leg from Christmas dinner, you're in your Santa boxers, you got peppermint schnapps and one on the table in front of you. You're in the blue glow of the laptop. Go hit some late pledges, and get some stuff. You can pretend that you kickstarted them, and now you spent all your money for the holidays. You're recovering financially, and now you can hit a late pledge for these guys. So go and do it. Guys, anybody else have something going on crowdfunding that you want to throw out there?
Not right now, but stop looking through my windows, Julian. I am looking forward to see what comes out of Zine Quest this year. It seems like there's been a lot of talk of it lately. There was like a lull maybe last year or something, but it seems I'm hearing more and more online about people throwing ideas around. I'd love to see some third-party stuff pop up again.
All I can say is there are various America people who are slowly trying to figure stuff out.
Yeah.
To maybe do some kind of America thing. So that could be really fun, and I'm somewhat engaged in that. So hopefully we can make it all work.
We need more America. Do
yeah, yes.
Yeah.
America first, baby.
it.
Yeah, that I'm not gonna get too far down that hole,
Yeah.
okay, last chance. Any other crowdfunding, or we're going to talk about upcoming. Yes, that's good. Jen is actually diligently filling stuff in. Somebody is doing this. I'm assuming it's Judge Jen. The Conquest of Chaos. I believe that's from Dragon Peak. Is that right? That is coming up. So we'll put a link out there. You can, I don't think it's pledgeable yet, but you can get on their follow me list. And there's also Isle of the Ancients for Shadow Dark and DCC as well, which looks like that's beyond Kickstarter.
There's also Terror from the Underdeep coming from, yours truly, Goodman Games.
That's the next thing that Jen's just going to wake up, and there's so many pallets of crates at the warehouse that they're actually spilling onto her lawn at home. They're just piling them up around every house in Fort Wayne, Indiana.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's great. That's great. That's well, that that'll be fun. That'll be good. All right, we're gonna go to emails. We have no zombie because these are live. These emails are being vivisected. They're not dissected after death. These are fresh, beautiful smelling emails, I'm happy to say. And the first one comes to us from DM Kojo, all-star emailer and Spellburn MVP. And he says, hey, gang, a question just came up at my table that I never actually thought of before. When a creature uses an action die higher than a d20, or a PC gets to a level with a d24 action die, does that count for all actions, including saves, ability checks, thief skills, etc., or do they get the higher die on attacks and spell checks only? If you do allow the action die on the other rolls, what about luck checks or recovering body where lower is better? Do you have those players roll a -1d in those low roll situations? Thanks, DM Kojo. Okay, well, that's near and dear my heart since I'm working on this 10th level thing. But but Joey, what do you think? Judge Joey, I'm gonna ask you to weigh in first.
Wow. Well, it immediately came to my mind what you were talking about with 10th level. I think, as the old adage goes, with great power comes great responsibility. I think whatever lends to the narrative more and to the stress. Conan's susceptible to the common cold. I would say, I said with the exception of like a body check, like when I think a body check, you go down the chain. I think that's pretty reasonable. But I say the weirder, the more dangerous, the better. Use those big die. I think with the exception of the thing, because there's the investment. I always go back. Yes, it's DCC, and we all do a standing ovation for the TPK. But we're talking high level stuff. That person invested into that character. I'm sure everybody at the table, it's a clan, it's a crew. They love that character. So give them a couple extra chances to make it around. They've been through a lot. They might be able to make it. But when it comes to a big blast of something, bring it on, I think. Use those big dice still.
Yeah, we want to use those big dice. Jen, what do you say?
I'm a big fan of using the big dice because that's what they're there for.
Yep.
I've also been known to use the entire spread of D3 through D24 and throw in a D21 or 22. If it's not truly, that big of a bonus, it at least still infuses a little bit of variety and fun for the players. And likewise for luck checks.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
It would be in reverse, like Kojo says, it'd be a D16 or a D14.
Okay. Judge Christopher, what do you think?
Yeah, my players roll so poorly no matter what dice they have, whatever they want to do. Seriously. No, I agree. since it says action die and not attack die, I feel like it's every action that you take that you would roll that die for should be a d24 or whatever you're at. And then because of the inverse proportionality of the luck checks and stuff where you have to roll under, drop down a die or whatever, however many you need to make that work the same way. Absolutely.
Cool. I tried to give Judge Grape Ape, Matt Robertson, a call, but his wife picked up the phone, and Judge Grape Ape's, he couldn't come to the phone because he was crying about a Green Bay Packers game that happened yesterday. So he was really feeling under the weather. Yeah, it was pretty bad, and the Vikings just thrashed him. So that was terrible. But I have the feeling, being a rules wizard that he is, I'd think he would say, everything but the saves, basically. I think your action dice is generally going to be everything but saves. And I'm going to go with Matt. I'm going to go with the ghost of Matt, the Matt wisdom that I just feel coming at me from osmosis. That's what I'm saying. So, Kojo, thank you very much. Good letter. Good question. The next one is even sillier, much sillier. But it's the player being silly. The email is good, actually. So for Judge Tim White, that is, he says, one of my players was casting resist fire on himself, then dousing himself in oil and charging the enemy. I assume he's dousing himself in oil, relating himself on fire, and charging the enemy. I explained that resist fire worked on him, but not his equipment. Then he decided he'd be stripped naked and cover himself with oil and light himself on fire and run into combat. I think my error was letting him do it once, but then stepping in once he clearly was going to do it every time. Am I too harsh? Cheers, Judge Tim. I don't know, Judge Christopher. I'll go reverse order. What do you think?
Oh, and Tim's watching live, so we better watch what we say.
Oh, Tim's he's enjoying this one. I hope he got his player to watch too.
Yeah.
Christopher, you just have to unmute.
I need to ponder that for a bit more. That's why I was staying muted.
Okay. Well, then we'll give you a second. Judge Jen, what do you think?
Oh, sure, me.
Yeah.
I am all for stripping a player of their armor class. So be it. Be sure to include lots of properly insensitive jokes at the same time, because we're all tall deep down.
That goes with the nakedness. Yes, that could happen. Judge Joey, what do you say?
Oh, are you kidding me? I'm all for this. Grease up that pig boy and let him run wild on flames. Let everything singe right off of him. I think it's great. That's such a great plot point, because now this character has to collect coin to buy new clothes every time he wants to flame on. It's like it's part of the character now. It provides a very fun and reasonable limitation. Sure, you can do flame on, but you gotta buy the pants for it every time you do it. That's the only way you're gonna get by. So they're working for an outfit every time. I love it. I think it's wonderful. Flame on, buddy. Flame on.
Or they're working to afford the hireling to hold his pants.
That's yeah.
And if there's a smell of burnt hair, it's not great.
Oh God, no! Can we not?
There has to be a smell of burnt hair.
So here's my take on it. I went back and looked at the spell briefly, and there's not much in there about how this works. There's certainly not in there. I mean, it has manifestations and so on, but that's more about like, did it actually happen or not? So I thought to myself, Judge Tim, I'm going to be a little more subtle than my peers here, maybe, but I thought the guy, whether he oils himself, forget oiling yourself up or not, taking your stuff out. To my mind, this guy, it's like a thief doing a sneak check. He doesn't actually know. I'm assuming it's a dude because this is serious dude behavior. This guy doesn't actually know if he, you tried to go sneak out there, but you don't really know if the guy heard you or not by the time you get up to him, if he didn't turn around, right? And you didn't know if you actually found a trap or not until you actually trigger the trap, right? Or not. So I would say you can do this. You can oil yourself up, light yourself on fire, but I'm going to roll your spell check in secret behind the screen. And then I'm going to tell you if you succeeded or not. Because I couldn't see anything that actually tells the player or the character if they are successful or not. So that might kind of balance it out. Judge Christopher, did you get something for us?
Yeah, I think whatever is the most fun. So within reason, of course, because you don't want it to break the game for everybody else. But if that's the character's backstory, that they light themselves on fire at the enemy, then I love it. I think that's great. And absolutely, then they have to go hunt down some new clothes or whatever, or maybe they hook up with some chemical specialists, some alchemical specialists who have some way to keep their clothes from burning to cinders. But then that also costs coin, like Joey said.
Very, very nice. And you bring up a great point. And Joey's description of it was like that grease pig boy running around, in the enemy ranks is going to be unforgettable, right? Who wants to step on that? That's a lot of fun. And sooner or later, it's not going to go like it might work like 5 times, and 6th time is not going to go well. Like sooner or later, so
in my game, it'll go spectacularly poorly the first time, and I will laugh for weeks about it.
Right. So don't nerf stuff. Like let people have their successes because their downfall is just around the corner anyway. Okay.
Embrace Darwinism. Let him give it a shot.
Exactly. All right, Judge Tony. He's writing to us. Last email. This is an interesting one. Totally different left turn here. All right. Judge Tony says, Judges J and Fugly Dude in the basement. Yes. Yes, the email zombie's out there somewhere. Unfortunately, we're not letting this one age. It just came into us yesterday. But Judge Tony says, looking for tunes to play in Terra AD. He got an idea for an artifact that will allow me to get music in the game, but he's not there yet. So everybody, I think, give me a post-apocalyptic type song. You could, or a band or whatever you want, but at least one song. I might say use Future by the Sword. I don't know. It's kind of a post-apocalyptic album type thing. I don't know. Maybe not the coolest idea ever, but I'm gonna start there. Judge Jen, what do you got?
Coming up blank. This isn't my department usually. Joey?
I have 2 suggestions for post-apocalyptic or wizardly shenanigans. They kind of go hand in hand in the Venn diagram. The first is anything by synth legend Mort Garson. Mort Garson is one of my favorite soundtracks to DCC, MCC, anything of that realm. Very early 70s synth heavy. And then if we were to be something more contemporary but still connected, I would go with anything by the band Voyager, that E in Voyager being the number 3. Amazing stuff. I mean, that I would even say that's my soundtrack for Netcrawl as well. Mort Garson and Voyager with a 3 for the E can cover anything related to DCC or MCC, America, all that. It's just got that weird van shag rug vibe.
I like it, Christopher. Now you're obviously got some serious, metal and music influences in your stuff. What do you think?
Yeah, Zigurat of the Mega Maiden actually has a playlist in it because that module came from me listening to a week of Megadeth and Iron Maiden and then making Zigurat of the Mega Maiden and the Cult of Death. And if you look, it's all in there. For old school DCC type stuff, I have a DCC playlist, which is like old school Slade, the Run Run Away band. They have a bunch of awesome kind of Slade. Progressive, sort of atmospheric 60s, 70s rock type stuff. And that slides right into things like Black Sabbath and everything else that was going on with the beginning of heavy metal there. For post-apocalyptic, it's all industrial as far as I'm concerned. Ministry, Nine Inch Nails, KMFDM. I could go on and on in that one right there. Metal or industrial, I got you covered. So yeah, but because of industrial is just heavy metal with computer sounds in it basically, but it sounds like noise you hear in a factory sometimes. Some people who don't like it are like, oh, that just sounds like noise. And it's true, it does kind of sound like noise. And in a post-apocalyptic world where maybe technology isn't, what it is right now, sure, they're banging on drums, on like steel drums or air canisters, and getting specific sounds. And that's what I think the industrial sound really is for the post-apocalyptic world.
Really well put. Thank you.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Do
you want to talk about Netcrawl? That's all EDM techno, hard and dark techno. I say would be. That's where I would go for that one.
Can I put the playlist can I put that just in the show notes so people can see that? Is it okay if I pull it out of the?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely. I think cool. I've posted it several times in public on social media and whatever. So yeah, please go right ahead.
Okay. Awesome. Well, we'll do. So awesome. Well, we gave Judge Tony plenty of feedback. I like it. I like it a lot. Thank you guys. All right, let's go over to Mighty Deeds. We're going to dig in with Judge Christopher here in just about 5 seconds. All right, so here we are. Mighty Deeds, our special guest here, Judge Christopher. You have Ziggurats and you have a lot of Mega, and you even have a lot of Maidens. Now, we got 3 products that you shared that, and of course, I think the Megaton Maiden is famous because of our particular device, and we'll talk about that in a second. I put them in the notes here in this order of Zigurat of the Megaton Maiden, Zigurat of the Mega Maiden, and then the Ravenous of Wizard Sea. Is that the chronological order? Is that how?
Mega Maiden was the first one. That's the DCC module that came out in 2020. And then when I did the crowdfunding for Megaton Maiden for MCC, I added like 6 pages and called it the 2024 Blackest Night Edition. It's way deadlier. The original one was deadlier. Bob Brinkman, in fact, called it a heavy metal fueled combat fest. And he's like, if you want a metal module, this is it. It's on my drive-through. I was like, Bob, can I use it?
That's great.
And so, and that one, the way it starts is you have a paragraph of backstory, you roll initiative, and that's the whole adventure. You're just climbing up this Zigurat trying to kill this cult before they kill you.
Yeah, and so we'll start with that guy. Looking through there, that's exactly how I would describe it. I think in a good way. It's more, I think it's kind of a unique DCC adventure because it's very tactical, and I think it would really appeal to like board gamers and minis gamers a lot because it's like, hey, sit down, here's your characters, you're going up the friggin' Zigurat, and you're gonna, bad stuff is gonna happen to you, and that's it. And so grab some dice and start rolling, right?
Yeah. And I cut the story. There is role playing. There have been some spectacular sessions. Jim Myers ran one. It might have been at Gen Con, where it only lasted 45 minutes because the wizard Spellburn and got something like 35 for a choking cloud that ran all the way up the Zigurat with them. Yeah. And Jim was like, I think I did something wrong. And I'm like, no, that's epic. I love it. They're never going to forget that session of the game. In Blackest Night, I put a trigger in, so if that happens, it's called a spell transmogrification sphere because of all the crazy ritualistic energies going on at the top with that ritual that the Cult of Death is doing to bring the Wrathchild into the world. Spells going into it roll on the spell table and change into whatever you roll, stuff like that.
So just give us the sort of 10-second version of like, how
Megaton or Mega Maiden. It's 2 minutes to midnight. You're at the foot of the Iron Ziggurat. The Cult of Death is at the top with a ritual that's going to call the Wrathchild into the world. He will either enslave it or destroy it. You have to stop the ritual to save the world. Go.
No, very nice. Very nice.
That's effective.
That works.
Yeah, I tightened that one up over 4 years.
What
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 level is it intended for?
Yeah, I wrote it. You think I'd know? It's either, I think it's first or I think it's second level, as a matter of fact.
yeah.
So on that note, I would like to really thank you, Christopher, for adding a cleric spell to that. You don't see very many new cleric spells,
Oh, yeah.
and I love it.
Yeah, I figured since they're the maiden in general, so all the maidens are the same maiden. They're just different manifestations in whatever game world, DCC, MCC, wherever it's going to go in the future. But it all goes up to this multiversal idea of the maiden, which sounds like life, but is actually death. And so my favorite things to do are in that one, when you fail, the maiden basically just backhands you like, what are you doing, you fool? And you take a bunch of damage every time you blow that one, or even get like I think the lowest result is also like, why are you wasting my time? Get out of here.
Do you I can just picture a giant like 3-foot ziggurat type prop thing. Do you
Yep.
have, is there some really cool terrain or stuff that people have done for this?
I have not. I've been thinking about it for a while, and I figured it would probably be made out of some type of foam or polypropylene or something like that. But I just never got around to doing it because I was always trying to work on something else, and I never managed to. I basically, most of the games that I've run for that is theater of the mind, even though it's very tactical. But if you look in the module, all the stairs have a specific width and a specific length. And so how far it is from level to level, you know how wide the levels are. You can easily draw it out. And then I also have a Roll20 version of it with dynamic lighting and everything. And that is so atmospheric because you can only see from the bottom, you can't see the top of the ziggurat.
Right.
And then there's this big, massive swirling storm that's going on. The archers that are up there can see you, and they have an advantage because they're just rifling arrows down at you from the top levels of the ziggurat. And so it's really hard going. And you can really only see up these, when you get into the stairs, there's these large, they're not even banisters, they're just sides on the stairs so you don't fall off, that you can't see what's even on the sides on the next, but everything is just standing on the stairs waiting for you, like come get some.
So at Gen Con we have like a life-size ziggurat, kind of semi-life-size. We could just put like a giant light show up there, like somebody giving birth to a Wrathchild, a giant light show, and just have like DCC LARPers trying to charge up the ziggurat at this thing, right in the middle of Lucas Oil in Indiana. Right?
There's an Iron Maiden up there, and it's going to open up, and the Wrathchild is going to pour forth from another dimension, and that's what's at the top. There's like this giant orb that has like hands pushing out of it and face every once in a while, and that's the Wrathchild tearing through the dimensional walls to get into that dimension and take over. That would be cool to see.
All right, Julian, you'll draft up the waivers that people have to sign for this, and
there may be some insurance type stuff to think about there, but yeah. Have you done that as a tournament? I saw there are some tournament notes in that Blackest Night edition of it.
Yeah, I always thought it would be a great. I have an idea for running a tournament, which would be a ziggurat of tables, basically. So the groups would start at the lower level, and then the stage would be in the center, and that would be the top of the ziggurat. And as players fall out of each group, they stay where they are, and the rest of the players that make it from tier 1 to tier 2 would move to the next internal, slightly higher set of tables. And keep going, and whoever makes it to the top is there trying to stop the ritual at the end. So it's real hard to win. in the new version. The original version only has 3 tiers on the Zigurat. The 2024 Black Knight has 5 levels on the Zigurat and a bunch of new enemies that I made because I just didn't feel like he was deadly enough.
Wow.
Folks at home, he is, if you can't see him, he's wiping his hands with a towel. There's blood all over his hands. And he's been wiping it off the whole episode. What's going on over there, Christopher?
And he's like, out Spot, out to damn Spot, out.
I love it. I'm sold, man. This sounds like a gem.
Yeah, I'd be more than happy to run it as a tournament, to set up, even if it was just like a one-sided. In my mind, it's like 4-sided tables and 3 tiers of stage up to the final. So then everyone is staring and watching the final to see if the ritual is stopped or not. And then each side of the Ziggurat would just have the same number of enemies going after
maybe
whatever the groups.
Maybe Crawl for the Cure event next year at Game Hole or something.
Oh yeah, I always try to help out with that for the last couple of years. So if Corey's interested, I'd be more than happy to help set that up. This year was real fun. It was confusing and fun. I always like when both the judge and the players don't know what's going on.
All right, so let's talk about the Megaton Maiden.
Okay, that's the new one that was the crowdfunding was this year. And the art is done by a local artist, the cover art, Dan Warshkow, who's a friend of mine. He did some of the internal art here of the Protonus, who is the cult leader. The cult is set up in cells, or atoms, if you will, because it's the Megaton Maiden. And so Protonus and the Neutron Guard are the upper echelon. And then you have Valence and Ionic enforcers running around at the further edges before you get to them. And so another friend of mine, Greedmaw, did a bunch of art for the Neutron Guard. Yeah.
Greedmaw is awesome.
Greedmaw is awesome. And so they also did there's 2 images of the Megaton Maiden, one on the front and one on the back. And one is by Dan Warshkow, and the other is by Greedmaw. And it's not technically a Ziggurat. You're going into an ancient nuclear power facility. There is a cult, the Cult of the Atom, that they have a bunch of names that they go by. The Mutation Nation, and they worship the Megaton Maiden or the Atomic Mama, the Mother of Mutants, Radiation Maiden. They have a bunch of names for her. But they basically are terrorists that think that the glow of the atom should be brought to everyone, and it's mutate or die. And if you die, you're just not worthy of the Maiden's gift. And if you mutate, welcome, brother.
I love that part of the adventure. Well, I won't spoil it, but it has to do with mutant blood and gaining access to a certain area.
Yeah. That
awesome.
caused a TPK at 2 TPKs at Game Con in the right very early in it, and I was like, okay, here's some other characters that roll up just as you're all dying.
Yeah. Hey, Christopher, who did the art on page 10? If you don't mind me asking, that one really struck me.
Let me have a look. Oh yeah, so that's Dan Warshkow.
Yeah, so cool.
His style varies depending on what you ask him for. In a new project that I have, we're going a totally different route that just not prepared to talk about yet. But when he goes into artist mode, he is in some other dimension. And so we will sit at a table and I will guide him through what I want. For that one, we talked about how old modules always had like the big bad on the cover, and you saw, the back of the good guy. The back of the good guy, and then somebody's in panic or trauma or something's going on, and then the bad guy is always facing front. And I was like, let's do that. Let's do a classic cover like that. And he's like, what style? And I was like, whatever you want. And so I just let him go wild on that. And my original idea for it was like 90s B-movie schlock, post-apocalyptic type stuff. And so I had a lot of green and orange. And when he came back with this like neon pink and purple, I was like, whoop, I'll just throw mine out the window. This is great.
Jeff's kiss. Love it.
Yeah. So he's a comic book artist. He has this crazy shared universe series of multiple comics. We just crowdfunded. I just helped him crowdfund that. That's our collaboration deal. He gives me art. I work with him on getting his stuff
Nice.
up and running and stuff like that. And I think it's gonna be pretty good. So
So
yeah.
we gotta talk about this atomic clock thing and the
Okay.
Yeah,
Megaton Maiden.
All right. We can talk about, so this was, I only had one stretch goal, and it was this crazy idea that I was going to make a physical prop for the final encounter in the adventure. Basically what's going on, the cult takes over the nuclear power plant, is melting it down, and basically wants to detonate another nuclear weapon on top of it to have this massive 100-kilometer wide explosion to bring the glow of the atom to as many people as possible. That's the whole backstory. You kind of learn it as you go in bits and pieces. And as part of that, when you get to the top and you're facing off with the cult, there is the bomb there. So in the adventure, it's a 3 by 2 by 4 foot metal box with some crazy flashing red lights on it. And so I was like, cool, I'm going to make a physical prop for it. So I made this papercraft version. Now this one got a lot of use recently. So basically what I can do, I'm going to share my screen. So, oh no, that'll screw up the formatting. Never mind. Anyway, it's
okay. We'll just describe. You know, Christopher. Most of our listeners are going to be listeners, not watchers.
Yeah.
So
I'll just hold this up and I'll tell you about it.
Yeah.
It's for the listeners. So in the adventure, it comes with 900 megabytes of PDFs for digital resources of maps and this and a whole, characters, pre-generated player characters and all kinds of other stuff. So it comes with a color version of the papercraft one because what it is it's basically a box that you fold up and you run these colored wires through, which are just papercraft wires. And there's 6 symbols that I made. There's 2 that are decoys. There's one that is detonate. There's one that is diffuse. It's the S that many of us drew on our notebooks in high school back in the 80s. One kind of speeds up the timer, so you lose time, and one slows down the timer. And what you have to do is basically just pull on one of the wires so that you, so in this, let me just get this set up. Okay, so then you see there's windows in the papercraft bomb. And so what you do is you pull on one of the wires and the symbol shows up.
Oh yeah. Holy smoke.
So cool.
That's
So
just like one piece of paper that is
this
doing
is
that.
one sheet of paper, a bunch of cutting, some gluing. It works better. That was just a standard sheet of paper. This is actually cardstock that I used. Let me get it into the camera there so you can see it. And then the symbol's just, what happens based on the symbol that shows up.
So he's got a little box that he's made of this folded paper with these 6 paper strings going, with the symbols attached to the strings. They've got little windows. He pulls the string down, the little symbol shows up in the window, and that's gonna and that's
that
like your little
clues the judge
suspense
into
thing.
what's to happen. Yeah.
Depending on what your symbol is, then the judge is like mushroom cloud, or he's
But
like,
that
okay,
that was cool and all, but that wasn't cool enough. So then
Well, now,
the
Sure,
stretch
Chuck,
goal.
quick
Yeah.
question for you. Does that mean that you can put the strings in like randomly? So if you have a party playing more than once?
Yeah, you can, as the judge, I put rules in how to roll. You can either just do it however you want, or you can roll and it'll tell you red is fast forward and yellow is detonate
Okay.
and stuff like that. So that's all in there as well. But then that was cool. But man, if I'm going to go post-apocalyptic and I'm going to have a bomb mechanic, I want a bomb.
Yes.
I want a bomb. So some people have seen this. Almost all of them have gone out. This was the stretch goal for the adventure for the crowdfunding. It's basically a plastic box. It's got an Arduino Nano in it. a bunch of wires sticking out of it. Don't mind mine, all the wires are. This was the first one that I made. It's got an LCD screen on the front, a power switch, and it all runs on a 9-volt battery. And it works just like the Papercraft version, but it's a little easier because every time you turn it on, it randomizes what each wire does. So
There we go.
so let's see here. Oh, sorry. There's also if you nudge it, there's a tilt sensor in it.
Oh,
And so
man.
it auto detonates. And I don't tell the players that. So if they grab it, and they're like, I smash it. I'm like, go ahead, smash it. And then it blows up.
Nice.
You are blowing my mind. This is amazing.
So all the wires, there's 6 sets of wires that come out of it. And theoretically, even though it doesn't matter because it's all random, they can all be plugged into the same thing because they all go to the same place in the end. They have quick disconnects on them. So I will set the timer. The timer starts at 2 and starts counting down. And then you just simply disconnect a wire and the system reacts. Let's see if I can get it to do it on camera so we can see one. Yeah, and 15, I think we sold 15 during the campaign. Brian Shutter of
right.
Neon Lords.
I've heard of
one
it.
at Gamehole Con. Used it the whole Gamehole Con. I was so happy. It was cool to see somebody
Well,
else using it.
you could put these in any MCC game or any game anyway, right? You could put them in a Fairhaven game. You could
Let's see if
do
I
anything
can
with them.
get it to reset the color. All right, so you can see the timer. You can almost see the timer. Oh, it exploded. I moved it too much. Anyway, so the 4 wires, there's two decoys. They literally do nothing, but they give you the most random error messages that I could make up that are like very Windows. I have the Arduino program right here. Very Windows mysterious. Like what does that mean? One of them does say D3C0Y, which looks like decoy. But they say things like pin invalid, request failed. The speed up ones are like hurry up mode on, space time error 2. The slowdowns say time save enable or interrupt time or lose time found. It's all just nonsense. It literally means nothing. And then one diffuses it and one detonates, and when it detonates, the whole screen lights up and says boom.
Nice.
Kind of like that.
All right. And when will those be on sale?
Oh man, I'm hand making these, and you can see this is my work table here. So like, there's one mostly made. This is what they look like before they go into the box. It's just a jumble of wires, and so I have enough parts for about 22 of them right now. 2 more have to be sent out to backers. It's been slow going because of some life stuff like having to move suddenly in late November and things like that.
Yeah.
And so I don't know when I'll make more to sell. I kind of like it being just like a 20 unit thing.
It's kind of cool to be out there in the wild, being a little secret society of the guys who have the atomic clock. That's kind of a cool thing.
And I know everyone's name that has one.
Or maybe,
so
or
cool.
maybe like, or maybe you know, suddenly people just get 1 or 2 of them in the mail each year. You know, like they keep getting out in the wild, but nobody knows who or how or.
Well, now, here's my biggest question though. If you know and can track everybody who has one, will they all spontaneously just give a message randomly, like from the ether?
Maybe they auto connect to Wi-Fi, but only a specific Wi-Fi SSID, and then it starts like a mission, an old school television Mission Impossible thing, where it says your mission is to defuse this bomb before, and then it just detonates anyways.
You should have people like send in the proofs of purchase of all your stuff, and like if you send in 5 of
Right.
them, you get
Right.
one like that.
I did
Show your
make
commitment to the
cards
brand.
that have
Yeah.
punches for each of the things
Yeah.
that I've published.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally,
That's
totally.
so funny.
All right, we're gonna hit the ravenous thing really quick.
Okay. Yeah.
Before we move on, I'm gonna just have a quick public service here. FBI, these are not bombs. They're not real bombs. No bombs can be made. Like for the authorities who are doubtless listening and monitoring everything I'm doing, we're not making bombs, guys. These are not.
It looks
bombs.
like this.
a
People
motherboard and
have
some wires.
flown with them. One was taken apart, carefully
man.
inspected, and then put back together.
Right.
Because I forgot. I was like, oh man, Jeff. Jeff got one, and then he was like, "Yep, there was a TSA sticker on his bag, and it's just wires, a control board, no batteries. I'm not even shipping batteries. Everyone can get their own batteries, an LCD screen, and some hot glue." And I was like, I had thought about messing with someone and filling an entire case with hot glue to see what it would look like on the TSA scan.
Well, here
So-
here at Spellburn, we only set off bombs in your mind.
Yeah,
that's
it's all
that's
play.
our
It's all
policy.
play.
All right.
The TSA has stopped me so many times just for dice and
Sure.
for coffee beans and for cheese. And I mean, you,
I imagine Paul Smith gets stopped every time he flies because he's always carrying some electronic gadget, and he has one of these, and he's like, "What did you think about doing this?" And I'm like, "Have at it, man. Here's the code."
I keep giving him Jen's picture too, so that might have some.
Oh yeah, watch
right.
out for this one.
All right, so Ravenous.
Okay, so the Wizard Sea Chronicles takes place in this region of a world that I've been working on for over 10 years. I run Intro to D&D for kids and adults and families. All of the kids games, this started way back in 2017. I also run extra RPG sessions, which is how I introduce them to Gaslands and DCC and MCC and a bunch of other stuff. But they all want to play Dungeons and Dragons first. And so I'm like, cool, fine. So we do that. So this started as just a placeholder world for all the adventures that I was having. It actually takes place up here. And then there's been a bunch of other games that I've run, campaigns that I've run, that I just sort of throw into this world. And now I'm taking all of those pieces and putting them together in a single world, including like on my Patreon, when I talk about this, I say, oh, if you want to run Mega Maiden, it would be in this region of the continent. If you want to run Megaton Maiden, it would be over here.
Sure.
And in this one, so this was volume 1, the first one. It takes place in Lake Crest, which is this tiny little village up at the north. And now volume 2 will be coming. I'm already in layout on it. And that will be Lakeside. And I'm just going to go region by region of this, which is slightly larger. It's like a crater lake, slightly larger than Lake Michigan. There's some strange stuff going on in the center where there's the Wizard's Peak, which looks like a volcano that always has strange colored lights and stuff like that. I'm not saying it ties into something else that we published years ago, but it might, if you know what that adventure is hidden behind my chair there. And so I just wrote 300 years of history for this region. I know what's going on in each of the sections, so it's probably going to be a 12 volume series. And this one, I've used this intro adventure a bunch of times, and it works really well. The Ravenous itself is something that I made more recently, but the Lake Crest Burn the Witch scenario has been being used for like 6-7 years. So there's probably 10 years of me just running homebrew campaigns in the region overall. And I decided to start putting out kind of a system agnostic zine series. To go along with that, I made during that SRD kerfluffle in January of last year, was it 2023? I decided on a qualities index, which basically says if you want if you have a very good or you want like a difficult encounter or whatever, add this percentage to the dice, and then no matter if you're doing a D6 or a D20 or whatever, you can just read through here and adapt this to that. The Ravenous itself is kind of DCC centric in its in terms of like the write up on what happens. So the Ravenous, I leave open ended. Is it a curse? Is it some sort of bad magic? Is it a disease? Is it a virus? Something happens. So it's basically a template that you can lay over any type of creature or character, and then they have this insatiable need to eat for protein. I have a degree in molecular biosciences and biotechnology, and I was a nuclear technician in the Navy. So you see where all this stuff I write is coming from. And in this one, when it takes in a massive amount of protein, say chowing down a human, within a couple of hours, it goes into this massive evolutionary mutation thing. You roll on the table, and they stack. So once you might get a 6-inch tail, and the next time you get 3-inch nails, and then you roll a tail again. Well, now the tail is 12 inches up to 3 feet, and the nails go 9-inch nails. Things like that. And there's all kinds of things like infectious spittle. So when they bite, it's like lycanthropism, and it can be passed down from. And the whole point is that there's some creature killing livestock in Lake Crest, and the PCs wander in and get hooked into trying to go find what it is.
It was very interesting reading through that in contrast to the other guys, because this one is way more your traditional kind of investigative type thing.
Yeah, I call them Scooby-Doo 3-act mysteries, where you have the setup, and then you have the information gathering, and then you have the culmination. It's always the guy in the mask or whatever, and that's how I do these. And I do another thing on my Patreon called Mad Ventures, which are like Mad Libs, and they're all Scooby-Doo adventures where there's a setup thing, and so the players and the judge or the GM can sit down and run through this, and then play the adventure, right, that they all created together. And there's, I think, 6 of them right now. Those are all free on my Patreon. There's a couple other things that are free as well, but that's the main free thing that I have going on there. And this is even in here, I talk about the the design of how I make the adventure, so people understand when they run it, because it is kind of sandboxy. So when they run it, they know that you start here. At the intro, and then you go to this thing, and then you have I call it the legwork phase. You got the 3 locations, the 3 things you have to do to get the clues. They all lead to here. Then you have the final thing in a little epilogue wrap up, or some dangling plot threads if you're running a campaign, and you can keep it moving. And I leave all kinds of notes in there as well, like if you want to run a campaign, or if you want to have this lead into something else or whatever, because that's what I find a lot of people that are judges or GMs that have campaigns are looking for, is something that they can plug in, but then sometimes you just need a couple weeks to get ready for your big thing, and you need something to drop in. And so that's what I'm trying to do, is build things that people can drop in, and they can run around in my world all they want and do whatever they want, or they can just lift that adventure out and put it into theirs, and I'm fine with that. The Ravenous itself, I even see could be a PC at some point, and instead of leveling up, you get a couple rolls on the table, and you mutate as you go.
It sounds like a breaker press class, that would fit into that standard horror thing easily. So
yeah, there's some body horror to it, like, because if you are the Ravenous, you have no control over it. It makes you go eat. It makes you go eat and mutate and eat and mutate, and it wants viruses. We're not sure if viruses are actually alive and intelligent, but they do one thing very well, and that's they propagate. They do something to make more of themselves, better than anything else on the planet. And then there's millions of them, and I think the Ravenous is kind of in that sort of vein, where it wants to make more and more ravenous as it goes.
Okay, we're gonna start taking her home. Christopher, before we are finished up, tell us about your Patreon really quickly. Give us the 20-second pitch.
I call it innovative game resources for GMs, for game runners. It's a smattering of things. I have a couple different series of things that are going on. There's the 25 things for every game world, which right now the last one was 25 unique forest adventures, and now I'm statting out all of those adventures, because I'm cramming 25 things onto one sheet of paper. So you only have so many words you can fit on a page. before it's microscopic and you have to start giving magnifying glasses with it, which I'm not doing. And so then each one of these gets statted out into somewhere between 500 to 3,000 words, including not only the creature or the encounter, but plot hooks and things like how you can fit into your world, or how they tie into each other as well. Because it's all, I call it the forest, as in capital T, the capital F forest, and all of this stuff lives in it. And if you're wandering through and you don't know what to do with your group, instead of, oh, you're walking through the forest and there's trees and some random encounter, you can use one of these lists that I make to have like some thematic story going on in the forest itself, because you've stepped into their domain. So there's that. There's the Mad Ventures that I spoke about. I did some crit and fumble tables for weapon types. So short blade, medium blade, long blade, light blunt, heavy blunt. And then I did, these are all free, or the Mighty Deeds one is free. I did like a bespoke Mighty Deeds table for people that sometimes can't think of something on the spot. They can just roll a d20 and look at it and be like, oh yeah, I'm going to do that. And then they can role play whatever they roll, just to kind of trigger. Not everyone is a role player. Some people are a ROLL role player, roll the dice, and much less on the creative side. That's what you have judges and game runners for. We're whipping up the world and everything around it. So this table, you could just roll on it and be like, all right, I'm going to go for their jugular or something like that. It just helps guide the player into a more story-driven Mighty Deed, because often Mighty Deeds are, I do that again, I do that again, I do that again.
Is there an entry in the table that's like, I'm stripping off all my clothes, I'm soaking myself in oil?
Did not foresee that one, but I think I'm going to have a new one now that's called the Madman's Mighty Deeds. It's going to be the craziest things I can think of that you can do in 10 seconds.
All right, final question. Very important one. I've saved the most important one for last. Everybody gets a shot. Anybody who wants. Bruce Dickerson or Paul Diani?
I'm all about Bruce Dickinson.
Yeah.
Wrong. No, wrong. All right. I even called him Dickerson. It's not Dickerson.
Yeah.
Okay, anyway.
Well, we knew where you were coming from.
Well,
with
he's
that.
great. He's also great. Obviously, he's great. But I love those first, just 2 albums? I just love those albums. Anyway, okay. Well, Judge Christopher, been awesome having you on the show. Thank you very much for coming on. A couple public service announcements. Spellburn, if you'd like to watch us, which this would have been a very good one to watch us, because we had friggin' atomic clocks and all that jazz. We are doing it live now on YouTube, not on Twitch. So for live Spellburn, go to YouTube, follow us there, follow Goodman Games there, and watch us there. And as always, we're going to have our old ones posted there. So just as before, we'll continue to have the old ones there if you want to watch. And this one, by the way, would be an excellent one to watch, because Christopher was demonstrating his paper box thing and his atomic clock thing and the whole deal. So they all are, so the last couple of years, they're all on YouTube and you can check them out. Our hosting issues seem to be resolved, and we've got everything re-updated and pushed out to the various streaming places where you should be able to listen to Spellburn episodes. So go ahead and soak them all the way back to episode 1. A special thank you to Judge Jim and also Judge John, both of them who came forward with helping us recover episode 4. And always massive thank you to our patron AI, Judge Jim, for all his help in everything from hosting to tutoring me to the little nuts and bolts, and now recovering an episode. So always. There are a few platforms out there like Spotify that are still resisting the appendix and goodness. So I'm working on it. I'm going to get there. Email me with your complaints. And also email us some letters, send us some love, send us some great questions, send us some outre scenarios like Grease Pig Boy charging the hordes. We love that. So hit us at spellburnband@gmail.com. And of course, your letters are going to show up here. So that's it. That's all I got. Special thanks, of course, also to Judge Joey Royale for sitting in tonight. Thank you, Judge Joey. And you got any parting words, guys?
Here's to a kickin' 2025.
Christopher, I
Yes,
was
sir.
going to wake up at 8 tomorrow. Now I'm going to wake up at 6. Your productivity is driving me insane. I love it. I'm feeding off of it. Thank you for that.
I won't tell you how many words I put down. I wrote a novel once for NaNoWriMo, and in the last 2 days, I did something like 20,000 words. So that's my kind of crazy. Before I even announce a project, I usually have like 30 pages of notes, and I just have a notebook of ideas that I go through. I'm like, I think I'm going to do this one now. It's time for this one. So stay tuned to see what's next.
Oh, yeah, well, we will very much. And I've got all of Judge Christopher's links are going to be in the show notes. He's already delivered them. They're going to go straight in there when we post the episode, hopefully very soon. Judge Bob is mentoring me graciously on sound editing and doing all that stuff. So hopefully the next one will have my little greasy fingerprints all over it. So thanks, Judge Alana. Twitch
Sure.
Mistress. She has to have a new name now that we're going to be on YouTube and not Twitch. So we'll think about it. But thanks as always to Alana. And with that, good night and game on.
Good night, everyone.
Take care. Good luck.
Listening to Spellburn. Our theme song has been graciously provided by Glitter Wizard. Learn more at glitterwizard.bandcamp.com. You have been listening to Spellburn. Our theme song has been graciously provided by Glitter Wizard. Learn more at glitterwizard.bandcamp.com. You have been listening to Spellburn. Our theme song has been graciously provided by Glitter Wizard.